What's happening, everybody? On today's show, Jaxson Dart has reportedly enrolled at Ole Miss, but will the former USC quarterback be the guy for Lane Kiffin in the fall? We'll discuss. Also, we'll go around the conference. Tons of news to get to when it comes to football, recruiting, some baseball notes, all of that coming your way right now. Locked on SEC starts now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. Great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at LockedOnSEC.com. Let's jump into it. We got plenty to discuss. Going to take us across all three segments today, so let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Intercepted. Makes the handoff. Throws. End zone. What a catch.
Around the conference.
And we start over at Ole Miss as Jaxson Dart has been rumored to be headed to the Ole Miss Rebels. And now the latest piece of the story is he has reportedly been admitted to Ole Miss as a student. The first report of this came from the Grove Report and Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation. Then Michael Katz of Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal also confirmed reports that Jaxson Dart is listed as a student at Ole Miss. No official word if he is on the football team, he's actually on campus, going to class. I'm sure all that will come in the coming days. But Dart participated in 6 games last year at USC, passed for 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. A 24/7 Sports crystal ball had pegged Dart to Ole Miss, and recruiting expert Chris Hummer reported that the Rebels were in good shape to land him. On3 Sports recruiting prediction machine currently lists Ole Miss as a runaway favorite with a 98% chance of him landing at Ole Miss. So it sounds like we're just waiting on the official word, but it appears he will be an Ole Miss Rebel. Ole Miss had also been tied to Oklahoma transfer Caleb Williams out of the portal, but Williams still waiting on a decision from him. Lane Kiffin reportedly recently met with Georgia transfer JT Daniels as well over in Athens. But Dart had a nice debut for a USC quarterback, stepped in to throw for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in a road win at Washington State. He also tore his meniscus, needed surgery. That kept him out until late October. But overall, we mentioned the numbers, almost 1,300 yards or over 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns passing. So would be a good get for Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels, and fills the shoes very quickly of Matt Corral heading to the NFL draft. Over at Kentucky, Liam Coen had a nice transition to the SEC this past year, moving from the NFL, where he was an assistant with the Rams. But now his name is being floated out there at another college program, the Miami Hurricanes. A report from 24/7 Canes says Coen is a name to know in Miami's hiring process, looking for a new OC/quarterbacks coach. The OC has been at Kentucky for just one season. Obviously, offense was much better this year with Wan'Dale Robinson coming in, Will Levis at quarterback. The Wildcats were number 8 in the SEC in total offense, but number 5 in scoring offense. Robinson and Coen were 2 of the biggest additions this past offseason for Kentucky. Robinson broke single school records with 1,300 yards receiving on 104 catches. Liam Coen, as we mentioned previously, spent the last 3 years with the Rams, 2018 and 19 as the assistant wide receivers coach before being named assistant quarterbacks coach in 2020. A familiar name over at Georgia as Mike Bobo is returning to the Georgia Bulldogs. It was widely predicted that's what would happen after he was fired as offensive coordinator at Auburn. And now he will begin his work on Kirby Smart's staff as an offensive analyst. It's a familiar place for him, but much has changed since he left following the 2014 season. Bobo's coaching career began at Georgia in 1999, where he spent a year as a grad assistant, then spent a year at Jacksonville State before he returned to Athens, part of Mark Richt's initial coaching staff in 2001. Kirby Smart has explained the analyst role in Georgia's off-field staff as one used to coach the coaches. Bobo will be charged with self-scouting and breaking down future opponents, among other duties. Most recently, Bobo was OC at Auburn for a season. Previously, he was the OC at South Carolina for one season. So he is just completing the SEC tour, moving all around the conference. Meanwhile, a few other coaching notes. According to reports out of Maryland, Mike Locksley is finalizing a deal that will bring in veteran defensive coordinator Kevin Steele to run the Terps defense. That's from ESPN. Kevin Steele has worked some of the biggest names in sports, obviously, most recently at Tennessee, Auburn, LSU. It's been all over the place. But Kevin Steele headed to Maryland to work with Mike Locksley. Meanwhile, another report out of Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin has reportedly hired a staffer at Ole Miss who has some SEC experience. Austin Thomas, one of the nation's top personnel officials, is expected to join Lane Kiffin's staff at Ole Miss. Thomas was LSU's general manager last season after previously working for Dave Aranda at Baylor and at Texas A&M. He has degrees from Lipscomb University and the University of Tennessee. He's a Nashville native, served in key roles both on Les Miles and Ed Ogeron staffs in Baton Rouge. Helped Dave Aranda launch his career at Baylor, and he earned his master's degree from Tennessee. Has also worked at USC and Bowling Green. So going to help out Lane Kiffin on his staff. Meanwhile, Arkansas, they've reportedly hired their new defensive line coach. They're expected to hire Deke Adams as their new D-line coach. Worked at FIU last year. He's an SEC veteran who's worked at Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and South Carolina. Most notably, he coached Jadeveon Clowney at South Carolina. Nolan Smith, name we know from the Georgia defense. He was arrested recently out of Athens, Georgia, following a traffic incident. After he announced he would return to Georgia next season, he was pulled over for speeding, which in Barrow County, which is west of Athens. And reportedly his driver's license was suspended, and he was also speeding. So he was booked into the Barrow County Detention Center, but released less than a half hour later. Reports said the incident happened at 9:25 p.m. and clocked Smith at 89 miles per hour in a 55. So we'll keep an eye on that. He had 3 quarterback hurries and a sack. As Alabama quarterback Bryce Young was sacked 4 times and intercepted twice in the national championship game. Also, South Carolina, they've undergone some roster turnover since the end of the season. Linebacker edge rusher Sean McGonigal is reportedly the latest Gamecock to enter the transfer portal, so we'll see where he ends up. Tyron Hopper over at Florida, he was in the transfer portal, but he's officially announced he is transferring to Missouri, so we'll see what he's able to do over there. He's a former top 65 recruit, posted 65 tackles and 10 tackles for a loss at Florida this past season. Mississippi State, they're beefing up their offensive line via the transfer portal. Stephen Losoya out of Middle Tennessee State, he's transferring in to help out the Bulldogs. And lastly, Mississippi State, their defense lost a couple of key players this offseason. On Thursday, they lost another defender to the portal. Now, this is a guy who's a former 4-star recruit who, as a recruit, went by Ani Izuchukwu. I can't pronounce it. But now he's listed on ESPN and their website as defensive end Izuchukwu King Ani. So whatever he goes by, he's entering the portal. He's leaving Mississippi State. And just one more tidbit, Auburn, they've already lost some key defensive players in the transfer portal. Their defensive exodus continues as 4-star freshman D lineman Marquise Robinson has reportedly entered the portal as a freshman last year. He appeared in 1 game, recording 1 tackle. So there you have it. That is the latest around the conference. We got more tidbits to give you. We'll get to in just a second. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And a quick reminder for SEC fans out there, we've got an incredible app that we've been working with. Everybody who buys gas needs to download it right now. Go to search the Get Upside app. Our listeners are earning cash back for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app. You can find the App Store or Google Play right now. When you sign up, make sure you use our promo code SCORE. That's going to get you 25 cents per gallon or more on your first fill up. Cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Download the app. Use our promo code SCORE. 25 cents per gallon or more on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a year in cash back. There's no catch. The cash gets added right to your account. You can cash out at any time, straight to your bank account. Download the free Get Upside app, use our promo code SCORE, and get that 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. Rolling along here, Locked On SEC, and man, we still have plenty to get into. Tons of tidbits from around the conference. So why not? Let's just jump right back into it as we get to more tidbits from across the SEC. Again, we missed a day this week, so we're still catching up. Plenty to get into. There are plenty of exciting matchups as we look ahead to next college football season across the SEC. Of the 10 must-watch matchups noted by 24/7 Sports, 4 of them involve at least one SEC team. The 4 games that 24/7 Sports are highlighting: Cincinnati at Arkansas on opening weekend. That's an intriguing one. Georgia versus Oregon. Of course, we know that one will be Dan Lanning versus Kirby Smart. Week 2 is a really intriguing one. Texas versus Alabama. So the Crimson Tide against Steve Sarkisian. And Texas A&M at Alabama, they list as a very intriguing one on October 8th. Obviously, Alabama looking for some revenge. Their lone regular season loss this past year was versus the Aggies in College Station. So 4 interesting matchups to keep an eye on this year. And, of course, the Bo Nix factor, and the new figures to be the new quarterback at Oregon going up against Georgia. That'll be a fun storyline as well. Steve Sarkisian going against Nick Saban. So just so many different great storylines, but we'll keep an eye on those games. Look, there's going to be more than 4 good games in the SEC this year. I'll just tell you that. We could honestly do a full list of the top 10 games to watch for in the SEC next year, just in the SEC, not even in all of college football. Some other news around the conference. LSU, they continue to build on their staff. They recently hired away Georgia wide receivers coach Cortez Hankins. Now they are adding an analyst from the Bulldog staff. According to Football Scoop, former Tennessee DC John Jancic, who served as a Georgia analyst this past year, he is heading to Baton Rouge to join Brian Kelly's staff. As we said, he has a history with Brian Kelly, stretches back to their days together at Grand Valley State. This is also where Jancic first began to cultivate his own reputation as a defensive mind. Another interesting hire for Brian Kelly's staff. Meanwhile, running back Dante Miller is joining the South Carolina roster. He announced his commitment on Friday. Now, when you read the article, your mind's going, wait, what? He played at Columbia this past year. Not Columbia, South Carolina, the school Columbia. He rushed for 1,281 yards and 6 touchdowns at Columbia. Will play for the Gamecocks for his final season of college eligibility. He joins the Gamecocks as a preferred walk-on after he graduates in May with a sociology degree. Began his career, college career in 2018. Has played 3 seasons since the Ivy League did not compete in 2020. In 6 games as a freshman, he rushed 61 times for over 300 yards and a touchdown. So we'll see if he plays a role this year for South Carolina. But Dante Miller, another running back to join that running back room over at South Carolina, bringing in a couple transfers already. Meanwhile, over at Texas A&M, Connor Weigman, he will eventually play for Texas A&M, but we won't see him on the baseball diamond. This spring, he will focus on football. That's according to baseball coach Jim Schlossnagle, who was talking to reporters on Friday. Schlossnagle said that Connor Weigman will focus on football throughout the spring, could come down and work out with the baseball team if he sees fit. He has a locker at Bluebell Park, but Weigman played shortstop in high school, was a 2-sport athlete, and again, expected to be, well, he was one of the biggest quarterback recruits in the country, threw for over 2,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last season, 5-star quarterback, committed to the Aggies nearly a year ago, was rated the number 2 dual threat quarterback in the country on early signing day last month. He was a big piece of that highly ranked recruiting class, which may end up finishing number 1 overall when it's all said and done. Meanwhile, Alabama offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien, his name continues to come up in media reports for potential NFL jobs. The latest comes from Adam Schefter at ESPN, who pointed out if the Raiders and Josh McDaniels get a deal done to make him the next Las Vegas Raiders head coach, a potential OC replacement in New England could be Bill O'Brien, who, of course, was once an OC under Bill Belichick in New England. But again, O'Brien's been mentioned for several other NFL jobs, most recently as a possible OC on Brian Flores' staff if he were to get hired by the New York Giants. O'Brien is interviewed for the head coaching vacancy with the Jacksonville Jaguars and was also connected with the Carolina Panthers for their OC job. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. Will Bill O'Brien be back next year as OC? It's not a bad gig. Bryce Young just won the Heisman Trophy, and get to coach under Nick Saban again wouldn't be all that bad if he had to stick it out another year before taking another job. Brandon Bailey, a grad assistant at Texas A&M, he is reportedly moving on to the Mid-American Conference to be the defensive coordinator at Buffalo. Bailey's been with the Aggies since 2019 and previously worked at Tulane. And Tennessee baseball, they got some news of a significant injury with only a couple of weeks to go before the start of the season. Their ace pitcher, Blake Tidwell, suffered a shoulder injury and will miss significant time, according to reports. A Tennessee spokesperson also confirmed the news to Rocky Top Insider, said the Tennessee's medical team and Tidwell are coming up with a plan, but are also not setting a timetable for his return. He's a sophomore from Loretto, Tennessee, had a tremendous freshman year, led all Tennessee pitchers with 18 starts, where he went 10-3 with a 3.74 ERA. That was best amongst their starting pitchers. His 10 victories were the second most by a freshman in program history. So not the kind of news you want to hear as the baseball season is about to get underway. We'll continue with a little bit more going around the conference here in just a second. It is Super Week, brought to you by Get Upside. There's no better place to get coverage of the big game than the Locked On NFL podcast. Locked On NFL will be in Los Angeles all week long covering the big game. Make sure to check out Locked On NFL. When we return, more tidbits around the conference. But first, it is the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. They make it easy for you to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good you will want to eat it. Of course, we tell you all the time, Built Bar is covered in 100% real chocolate, 130 calories, 4 grams sugar, 4 grams net carbs, 17 grams of protein packed in there. Of course, it's always the better alternative than eating some of the junk food out there. So many flavors to choose from the coconut almond to the peanut butter brownie, raspberry cookies and cream, salted caramel, whatever it is. Go to Built.com. Make sure you use our promo code LOCKED15. That's going to get you 15% off your first order. If you've never ordered from them before, go to Built.com. Use our promo code LOCKED15. Get 15% off at Built.com. Going along here, Locked On SEC, and again, today's episode just full on around the conference tidbits because there was just so much going on that we hadn't talked about it. We haven't missed you guys for a day. Yesterday's episode was mostly all on the SEC Big 12 Challenge happening in basketball this weekend. So let's get back into it. A few more tidbits to go around the conference. Trey DePriest, who's a former Alabama linebacker, was on multiple national championship teams. He's reportedly in custody in the state of Ohio on several charges, including armed robbery, assault, and felonious assault in a case that stemmed out of Detroit. He's being held in the Clark County Jail up in Ohio. He's 28 years old, was investigated for a robbery at a hotel, and he was booked on Thursday morning. He's arrested as a fugitive of justice. They say once inside a hotel room, the suspects attempted to rob a victim. One of the two suspects fired a shot, striking the victim. The priest's charges have been filed back on November 11th. He was a former 5-star recruit in the class of 2011 out of the state of Ohio. Just hate to hear that kind of stuff. Would rather hear some of the stories about, guys playing the NFL playoffs this weekend, getting ready for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Hate to hear that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown, former Ole Miss wide receiver, he may be looking to expand his athletic pursuits. Former Ole Miss star, Tennessee Titans wide receiver, he retweeted a Super 70s sports tweet about Bo Jackson, which said 1989 Bo Jackson had 32 home runs and over 100 RBIs and then averaged 5.5 yards per carry that fall in the NFL. He said, sometimes I think about playing both sports again. Hey, San Diego Padres, all I need is a workout. I still got it. A.J. Brown tagged the Padres in his tweet because he was drafted in the 19th round of the 2016 MLB draft. Brown's rookie contract expires after next season, and beyond that, we'll probably be getting his second contract in the NFL, but will he entertain the idea of maybe going to work out with the Padres? Remember a couple years ago, Russell Wilson entertained it. Johnny Manziel. Kyler Murray was a high first-round pick of the Oakland A's. Always has the possibility to go try baseball whenever he wants, so we'll see. Not likely, but it will be fun to see A.J. Brown at least go do a little spring training with the San Diego Padres. We will see. In recruiting news, Shamar Porter, a four-star wide receiver out of the Nashville area, announced his commitment on Friday, says he's coming to the SEC and will play for the Kentucky Wildcats. He's 6'3", 192 pounds. He's the number 5 player in the state of Tennessee. Again, class of 2023. He's the third commitment of Kentucky's 2023 class, joining in-state stars Caden Moorman, who's a running back, and Ty Bryant, who is a defensive back. Porter is also a track and field athlete as well. The Tennessean reported that he chose Kentucky over the likes of Georgia, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. So Shamar Porter, wide receiver, headed to Kentucky. Meanwhile, Auburn, their board of trustees next week, going to discuss a proposed addition to the Auburn Arena, including an item on Bruce Pearl's wish list as he reportedly receives interest from Louisville. Of course, he's got Auburn as the number 1 team in all of college baseball or college basketball right now. That meeting is February 4th in Montgomery. AL.com reports the official agenda for the meeting includes an item concerning a new practice gym at Auburn Arena. The plans include construction of a new second practice gym and to renovate the existing team support spaces. And the presentation will be made by Athletics Director Alan Green and Associate Vice President for Facilities Dan King. The facility is simply too busy to have enough room for all the teams that need to use it. Something worth tracking. Again, would expect Auburn to step up to the plate if Louisville is indeed coming after Bruce Pearl and serious about it. You got to think they're going to do everything they can to keep him happy, including a contract extension and renovation of the facilities. The new practice gym and facility upgrades would be funded by gift funds and bonds, with the debt service of the bonds paid for by the athletic department. It is set to be the latest renovation to Auburn Arena in recent years. The facility, which first opened in 2010, experienced a $3 million upgrade to the men's and women's locker room prior to the 2019 season. The following offseason, the program also unveiled a new scoreboard with wraparound LED video display. So, got to keep up with the Joneses. You got to keep, whether it's the baseball parks, the basketball arenas, practice facilities, gymnastics, tennis, soccer. Got to keep updating. Look, there's enough money to go around the SEC. Let's be real. Let's continue to update all the facilities. And we're paying the coaches. We don't just need to say anything about that. They're all paid very handsomely. And the ones you want to keep, you have to pay more. Contract extension. Keep doing it. So we'll see. I don't expect Bruce Pearl to leave, but we'll see. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Again, thank you guys for listening for a special weekend edition. We'll keep track. Jaxson Dart officially enrolled at Ole Miss. Is he in classes? We'll keep a track on all that. And then on Monday's show, we'll also get you caught up on all the action from the weekend, the Big 12 SEC Hoops Challenge from the weekend. I'm Chris Gordy. Talk to you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.